Have you ever learned something and forgotten it the next day? Maybe you learned 10 new English words. The next morning, you remembered only 2. Maybe someone told you their name. Just a few minutes later, you couldn't remember it. Or maybe you walked into a room and forgot why you went there. If that has happened to you, don't worry. It happens to everyone. Many people believe they have a bad memory. But in most cases, that's not true. Your brain is not broken. Your memory is not weak. Most of us simply never learn how memory really works. Think about this. Can you remember your first day at school? Your first bicycle? Your first job? Your first trip with your family? Most people can. Why? Because those moments meant something. Your brain remembers what feels important. Now think about yesterday. Can you remember everything you did? Probably not. Not because yesterday wasn't real, but because your brain knew that most of those small details were not important. Memory is not about keeping everything. Memory is about keeping what matters. The good news is this. Your memory can become stronger. Not because you are born smarter, but because you learn better habits. Simple habits. Habits that anyone can practice, including you. In today's lesson, you'll discover 5 simple principles that can help you remember more in your daily life. You'll learn why attention is more powerful than repetition, why understanding is better than memorizing, and why small daily habits can improve your memory over time. These ideas are easy to understand, easy to practice, and they can help you not only remember more English, but also remember more of life. So let's discover how your memory really works. Let's begin. Principle 1. Pay attention. Before you try to remember, many people say, "I have a bad memory." But often, the real problem is not memory. It is attention. Think about this. Have you ever finished reading a page and realized you didn't remember anything? Your eyes moved across every word, but your mind was somewhere else. You were thinking about work, about school, about tomorrow. You were reading, but you were not paying attention. And if you don't pay attention, your brain has nothing to remember. Memory begins with attention. Before your brain can store information, it must first notice it. That's why people often remember exciting moments. A birthday, a wedding, a beautiful sunset. In those moments, they are fully present. Their attention is completely focused. Let's look at a simple example. Anna wanted to improve her English vocabulary. Every evening, she opened her vocabulary notebook. She read 20 new words. She read them again and again. But a few days later, she couldn't remember most of them. She felt frustrated. "I study every day," she said. "So why do I keep forgetting?" One afternoon, her teacher watched her study. He smiled and asked, "Where is your phone?" Anna looked at the desk. Her phone was beside her. Every few minutes, she checked a message. Then she returned to her notebook. Her teacher said, "Your eyes are on the book, but your attention is on your phone." The next day, Anna put her phone in another room. She studied only 10 words, but this time she read each word carefully. She said it aloud. She imagined a simple picture. She made one short sentence with each word. After 1 week, she remembered far more words than before. She didn't study longer. She studied with better attention. Now let's look at another example. Tom met a new neighbor. The neighbor smiled and said, "Hi, I'm Michael." A minute later, Tom couldn't remember the name. This happened often. One day, he decided to change one small habit. When someone introduced themselves, he stopped for a moment. He looked at the person's face. He repeated the name quietly. "Nice to meet you, Michael." Then he used the name once more before saying goodbye. "Have a great day, Michael." That simple habit made a big difference. Soon, remembering names became much easier. The lesson is simple. Your brain remembers what you truly notice, not what you quickly pass by. So don't ask, "Why can't I remember?" Ask, "Did I really pay attention?" Because attention is the first step to memory. When you give something your full attention, you give your brain a chance to keep it. And that is where every strong memory begins. Principle 2. Connect new ideas to what you already know. Your brain loves connections. When new information stands alone, it is easy to forget. But when it connects to something you already know, it becomes much easier to remember. Think about building a bridge. A bridge is strong because it connects two sides. Memory works in a similar way. Every new idea becomes stronger when it connects to an old idea. Let's look at a simple example. Lucy wanted to remember the English word bridge. She read the word several times. 5 minutes later, she forgot it. Her teacher gave her a different idea. "Don't only read the word," he said. "Connect it to something you already know." Lucy closed her eyes for a moment. She remembered the small bridge near her school. Every morning she walked across it with her best friend. Now the word was no longer just a word. It had a picture, a place, and a memory. The next day she still remembered it. A week later she remembered it again, not because she read it many times, because she connected it to a real experience. Now let's look at another example. Mark met a new co-worker. "My name is Daniel," the man said. A few minutes later, Mark almost forgot the name. Then he remembered that his cousin was also named Daniel. He smiled and thought, "Daniel, just like my cousin." The next morning, he saw his new co-worker again. "Good morning, Daniel," he said with confidence. The simple connection had helped his memory. You can use this idea every day. When you learn a new English word, connect it to a picture. Connect it to a place. Connect it to a person. Connect it to a short story. The stronger the connection, the stronger the memory. This is also true outside the classroom. If you need to remember where you left your keys, take 1 second to notice the place. You might say to yourself, "My keys are next to the blue vase." That small connection gives your brain another clue. The next time you look for your keys, your memory will have something to follow. So don't ask, "How many times should I read this?" Ask, "What can I connect this to?" Because your brain remembers ideas much better when they become part of something you already know. One simple connection today can help you remember for a very long time. Principle 3. Review at the right time. Many people believe that the best way to remember something is to repeat it over and over again. So they read the same page 5 times. They repeat the same word 20 times. By the end of the day, they can remember it very well. But a few days later, most of it is gone. Why? Because the brain remembers information better when it meets it again after some time has passed. A short review tomorrow is often more helpful than 10 reviews today. Your brain needs time to build a strong memory. Let's look at a simple example. Ethan learned 15 new English words on Monday. He spent 1 hour studying them. When he finished, he felt confident. "I know all of them," he said. On Tuesday morning, he decided to test himself. To his surprise, he remembered only a few words. Instead of feeling disappointed, he reviewed the words for 10 minutes. On Thursday, he reviewed them again. The next week, he spent another 10 minutes with the same list. This time, something was different. The words came to his mind much faster. A month later, he was using many of them in conversations. He didn't remember them because he studied longer. He remembered them because he reviewed them at the right time. Now let's look at another example. Mrs. Green loved gardening. Every morning she walked through her small garden. She didn't water every plant all day. She gave each plant what it needed. Then she came back the next day. Little by little, the flowers became stronger. One afternoon, her granddaughter asked, "Why don't you give all the water at once?" Mrs. Green smiled. "Because plants grow with regular care. Not with one big effort. Your memory works in a similar way. It grows stronger when you return to what you have learned. A little today, a little tomorrow, and a little again next week. That steady practice helps ideas stay in your mind. So don't ask, "How long should I study today?" Ask, "When should I review this again?" A few minutes of review can save hours of relearning. Small reviews become strong memories, and the lessons you revisit are the lessons that stay with you for a long time. Principle 4. Use what you learn. Imagine buying a new bicycle. You leave it in the garage. You look at it every day. You even read the instruction book. But you never ride it. Will you become a better cyclist? Of course not. Knowledge works the same way. Reading is only the beginning. Real learning happens when you use what you have learned. Your brain becomes stronger every time it uses information. The more you use it, the easier it becomes to remember. Let's look at a simple example. Sarah learned the English word careful. She understood its meaning. She wrote it in her notebook. She reviewed it the next day. But a week later, she almost forgot it. Her teacher gave her a simple challenge. Today, use the word 3 times. Sarah smiled. She looked around the classroom and said, "Please be careful with that chair." Later, she told her friend, My little brother is always careful with my books. That evening, she wrote one more sentence in her notebook. I want to be more careful when I drive. The next week, the word came to her mind immediately. She didn't remember it because she read it many times. She remembered it because she used it. Now let's look at another example. Jacob loved cooking. One weekend, he watched a video about making homemade bread. The recipe looked simple. He understood every step, but he didn't bake the bread. A month later, he watched the same video again. It felt new. Then he decided to try. He mixed the flour, added the water, waited for the dough to rise. His first loaf wasn't perfect, but it tasted good. The second loaf was even better. Soon, he no longer needed the recipe. His hands remembered the process. Practice had turned information into skill. This happens in every part of life. If you learn a new word, use it in a sentence. If you learn a new idea, explain it to someone. If you learn a new skill, practice it as soon as possible. Learning becomes stronger when it becomes part of your daily life. So don't ask, how much have I learned? Ask, how much have I used? Because information that stays on a page is easy to forget. But information you use again and again becomes part of the way you think. And that is when learning truly becomes memory. Principle 5. Teach what you learn. One of the best ways to remember something is to explain it to someone else. Many people think teaching is only for teachers, but that's not true. You don't need a classroom. You don't need a group of students. Sometimes you only need one person, or even yourself. When you explain an idea, your brain works in a different way. It doesn't simply repeat information. It organizes it. It looks for simple words. It connects ideas together. That process helps the memory become stronger. Let's look at a simple example. Nina learned 10 new English words during the week. She reviewed them every evening. She could recognize every word. But she wasn't sure if she really remembered them. On Saturday, her younger sister asked, "What did you learn this week?" Instead of showing her notebook, Nina explained each word in simple English. She gave an example. She used the word in a sentence. Sometimes she stopped to think. Sometimes she corrected herself. When she finished, she smiled. She realized something important. The words she could explain were easy to remember. The words she couldn't explain needed more practice. That simple conversation showed her exactly what she knew. Now let's look at another example. Mr. Brown loved fixing old bicycles. One afternoon, his grandson wanted to learn how to repair a flat tire. Instead of doing the work himself, Mr. Brown explained every step. He spoke slowly. He showed each tool. Then he asked his grandson to repeat the process. At the end, the bicycle was ready to ride again. His grandson learned a new skill. And Mr. Brown noticed something too. Even after many years, explaining the process helped him remember small details he hadn't thought about for a long time. Teaching had strengthened his own memory. You can use this idea every day. After reading a book, tell someone what you learned. After watching an English lesson, explain the main idea in your own words. If no one is there, speak to yourself. Or record your voice. The goal is not to sound perfect. The goal is to make the idea clear. So don't ask, "Can I remember these words?" Ask, "Can I explain them in simple words?" Because when you can explain an idea clearly, you no longer carry it only in your notebook. You carry it in your mind. And that is when knowledge becomes something you truly own. Today, we learned something important. A strong memory is not a gift. It is a skill. And like every skill, it can grow. You don't need a special brain. You don't need to be a genius. You only need the right habits. Pay attention, make connections, review at the right time, use what you learn, and share it with others. These 5 simple habits may not change your memory overnight, but if you practice them every day, you will notice something amazing. You will remember more names, more ideas, more English words, and more of the moments that matter. So the next time you forget something, don't say, "I have a bad memory." Instead, ask yourself, "Did I give my brain a good reason to remember it?" That one question can change the way you learn, and it can change the way you think about yourself. Now we'd love to hear from you. Which memory habit will you try first? Tell us in the comments. Your idea may help someone else remember better too. If this lesson helped you improve your English, please like this video. If you learned something new today, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like to learn more English through simple life lessons, please subscribe to the channel. Every lesson is designed to help you understand natural English. At the same time, you'll discover practical ideas you can use every day. Thank you for spending your time with us. Keep learning. Keep practicing. Keep asking questions. And remember, your memory becomes stronger every time you choose to use it. One small habit today can help you remember for a lifetime.